Hello all you beautiful people out there, what is going on? This is your friend BritikHD with another Vault guide, and today we are going to be talking about wards, all the different types of wards, why wards are so important and why everyone always says wards win games, and where to actually place them to be the most effective for you and your team to make sure you do actually win those games. So if you do enjoy this video, please consider dropping a like, and let's get right into it. First of all, let's talk about the different kinds of wards in this game, because for some of you who might not have played other MOBAs besides Paragon, you might not be familiar with how these wards work. So let's start off with the Trinket Slot, and that is your dedicated slot for one of two trinkets. One is called the Stealth Emblem, and the other one is called Radiant Pulse. They both cost 0 gold, and you can buy them at any point in time, and you automatically start off in the very beginning of the game with the Stealth Emblem. It is already there in your inventory, in your Trinket Slot. Now, you might have to bind your Trinket Slot to a specific key on your keyboard if you're unable to place it. So I bound mine to F, you can bind yours to G or whatever other key you want, but just keep that in mind because that has been known to happen from time to time. Now, what are these trinkets? Basically, they replenish, they recharge. They're free and they recharge over a certain amount of time. The Stealth Emblem, the one that you start off with, is a ward, as you might call it, or a stealth ward, as you might call it, because when you put it down, it does go invisible after a second or two delay, and people cannot see it. And the only way for them to reveal it is by using other items or by using people in the shadow plane, which we will get to in a second. These are really important to use, and they recharge every 270 to 120 seconds depending on your level. So when you're on max level end game, you're going to be warding way more often, and it's very important that you do. But you can only have one stealth ward down on the map at any one time. They usually expire by the time this happens anyway, but just keep that in mind. Now, why are these so important? Well, they protect you from getting ganked in lanes. They tell you where the enemy is. Vision is super duper important in MOBAs. If you know where the enemy is, then you know where they're not, and you can take advantage of that, especially as a jungler. And you guys will learn more about this when I come out with my How to Jungle Like a Pro for Vault guide very soon. But for now, what you do need to know is that every laner should be using these trinkets because they're free. You start off with them, so make sure you're putting them in different places. Don't be putting two on the same spot. That doesn't serve any good. Make sure you're placing them everywhere, and make sure you're placing them deep. Okay, you want to place them deep into the enemy line, as deep as you possibly can while still remaining safe, so you have ample time to react when you do see somebody on the map for you to back up. At this moment in time, there's no sound effect, there's no little ping noise when somebody does pop up on a ward on the map. So just keep that in mind. Always be looking like a chameleon with one eye on the front of your screen and one eye in the top right corner looking at that map, and you will boost your map awareness that way as well. Now, those are typical shadow wards that you might have already experienced and are familiar with. But here's the thing, these stealth emblems, when you put them down, will not reveal other stealth emblems because they only grant normal vision. They don't grant what's called true vision. And true vision allows you to see into the shadow plane. It allows you to see things that are invisible. So when Kalari goes into the shadow plane, she gains true vision because now she can see other things in the shadow plane. For example, Lari's not in the game yet, but I'm just using that as an example for those who do remember her from Paragon. Now, what things do give you true vision? Well, Radiant Pulse, the other trinket that you have, acts sort of like a scanner from League of Legends, if you guys ever played League of Legends. And what this does is you do place a ward, but this isn't a shadow ward, this is a Sentry Ward, and it's only going to be up for about 6 seconds or so. It's very short term, because the only thing you do with this thing, this Radiant Pulse trinket, is you de-ward the emblems that the enemy team place. Okay, this is like a scanner. You scan for the enemy stealth emblems because you want to get rid of them, because you want to make sure that either your jungle can gank the lane, or as a jungler, you just do it yourself, so then you can come back a couple seconds later or maybe half a minute later and gank that lane after you made sure that they don't know that you're coming. So this is a very useful item to have on your jungler. I have not gotten any footage with me using this Radiant Pulse trinket, but I will be using it more on streams, which is why you don't see it in the gameplay in front of you guys, but it is very useful. It's basically just a Sentry Ward that you pop up real quick, 6 seconds, reveals everything in its surrounding in the line of sight that's invisible, giving you enough time to destroy it. So even if there's multiple wards, you'll still have enough time to destroy them. And you can actually build up to 2 charges on this thing, not just 1. So even if you haven't used the first charge, you will get a second charge just sitting on top of it. So you can use 2 charges back to back, basically, if you'd like to. And now the third type of ward in this game is a Sentry Ward. That's exactly what it's called. But this one is not free, and this one does not go in your Trinket Slot. This one does take up an item slot. And you can buy as many as you want, but each one will take up an entire item slot. So be very careful. Make sure if you do buy them that you use them next time you go out on the field. And if you don't use them, you're just going to be wasting up that item slot that could be used for something that's going to give you stats. Now, these Sentry Wards cost 100 gold. They're very, very, very cheap, and the support should always be stacking up on them because the support is not going to have that much gold. He's not going to be building the items as fast as the other roles. Let's say it's a Narbash, right? Narbash is not going to be building those items quickly like a Gideon in the mid lane would be. So, especially in the beginning, you want to have that ward control between your Stealth Emblem and your Sentry Ward. I'm going to talk about one more item that does give you wards since we're already talking about supports, and that's called Scrying Stone. Every support, and this is a big tip for support players, every single support should get what's called a Scrying Stone. This is an item that costs 450 gold, and it's going to allow you to not only have another Stealth Emblem that you can plant anywhere you want, but also this will allow you to gain gold passively in ways such as damaging the enemy if you're poking them out with Muriel, or by granting shield / healing them. So if you're Narbash and you cast E, which is your healing aura, every time you cast that and your allies nearby, you technically heal them, you will get a stack and some bonus gold from that item. So that's a very good item for supports to get gold quicker and also to have even more wards. But going back to the Sentry Ward, you do want to buy those. Everyone on your team should have one. You can only have one on the field at a time though. But here's the thing, they last indefinitely. They do not expire. So they stay on the field even though, you know, it's a ward and it's super useful and it reveals things. It stays on the field indefinitely until the enemy team finds it and destroys it, or until you put another Sentry Ward in a different place. Remember, you can only have one Sentry Ward on a map at a time. You can have only one Stealth Emblem on a map at a time. So both of those things combined give you 2 wards that you can have on the map at a time. If every player is doing that, then you will have a total of 10 wards as a max on the map at a time. Can you imagine how much vision you will have if you have a ward in the enemy jungle, if you have a ward in the Raptor pit, a ward in the Prime pit, a ward in the blue side of the jungle for your solo laner, just wards everywhere, wards in your own jungle so you know when you're getting invaded. This is why wards win games, because when you know where the enemy is, you know exactly where to rotate, to collapse on them, or maybe to invade their jungle, and you know that when you go there, you will be doing something productive instead of just leaving lane, roaming, and missing out on farm. So finally, let's talk about where you want to place these wards, and I already alluded to it a little bit. You want to be placing them in big points of interest, such as the Raptor pit, the Orb Prime pit, and you want to make sure that you're doing it deep. You don't want to just put it right on top of the Prime, for example, or the Raptors. You want to make sure that you're putting these wards in places where there are entryways, so you have time to react, so you can tell ahead of time, like, oh look, they're on their way to Prime, not oh, they're on Prime right now, but they're on their way to Prime. Because if you put them in the main entryways, then you'll see Twin Blast pop up on the map, then Narbash pop up on the map, then Chimera pop up on the map, and you're like, okay, their whole team's over there, they're going to be doing that objective, let's rotate and surprise them and get that objective for ourselves. Or maybe we trade that objective for something else on the map. This is why vision is so important. So make sure you put them deep into the enemy pathways, and maybe inside your own jungle too if you want to play defensively. If you know and you notice that the enemy Chimera, for example, is very aggressive and he just keeps invading the same side over and over trying to take red, then have a ward ready for him next time, so you see exactly where he shows up, so your team can rotate and we take him out together and you punish that Chimera. Otherwise, you're just going to keep stealing that red buff, for example. So put them in deep and put them in places where they are useful so you can react ahead of time. Don't just place them right on top of the objectives. Make sure you place them spread out and far away in the main corridors. And again, probably the third tip there is don't place the same ward on top of one another unless you're trying to deward something with your Sentry Ward. So if you have a Shadow Emblem there, and you think your enemy has a Shadow Emblem there, they can put down a Sentry Ward and get rid of their Shadow Emblem, and then you'll have 2 wards in about the same spot. But other than that, you do want to space those wards out as much as possible. So I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown of wards and this guide, and if you did, please consider dropping a like. That does help me out a ton, and it helps the YouTube algorithm push my video out to others so they can see my guides sooner and quicker so they can stop inting your games. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and follow me over on twitch.tv/BritikHD. I do stream each and every single day, 2 p.m. EDT, playing Vault, playing and showing and teaching, all that kind of stuff. You guys can watch me place wards, see exactly where I place my wards so you guys get better. And also don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you guys never miss another YouTube video. And as always, guys, make sure you have a wonderful day. Peace.
Wait, I have infinite right clicks, but they don't do damage for shit.